The weekly Industry Angel podcast hears from business leaders and entrepreneurs who share their stories and that all-important light bulb moment. This can inspire us all and maybe scratch that itch and kickstart that idea that keeps you awake at night.
Welcome to episode 48 of the Industry Angel. I'm going to have to apologise to you first for my voice. This man flu is just driving me crazy. I think I mentioned it on the last show as well. It's been hanging around way too long. I think I need a break. In the sun, maybe relaxing, doing nothing. Well, actually, I do, because I hope you had a good Easter, because mine was spent decorating. I seen my wife glossing some skirting boards the other day, and when I watched her, next thing you know, I'm in there, the doors are getting glossed, the wallpaper's off, we've painted the rooms, the bath's being ripped out. So yes, I do need a break. So yes, I hope you had a good Easter. Thanks for all your contact. It's been really good. I love it when you guys tell me what your business aspirations are, your top challenges. It really helps me shape the show. So if there's a call to action on here, drop me an email, let me know. Maybe something like, if you had all the money in the world, what would be your top 3 business wishes? Would it be to possess a new skill, build a new office, have some new staff, whatever? Just let me know. I'm really interested. In terms of my business, Far North, really going well, thanks. Some of you guys are asking and wishing me well. Referrals are great for us. Here's another little call. If you found a supplier has done really well for you, see what you can refer them on to. It got me thinking yesterday. I went to see somebody speak, and I was sat on a table with a lady, and she said, "Have you heard this guy speak before?" And I hadn't actually, but she said, "He really changed my life." And I was like, "Wow, how?" She said, "Well, some of the things that he'd said in the speech and in his talk, I started implementing in my business." And then I bought his book, and wow, he really helped me. And I said, "Well, have you told him?" She's like, "No." I said, "Well, maybe drop him an email." I said, "Actually, forget that. In the break, go up and see him and tell him how you kind of changed and influenced what you do as a business." And I think that's so important, So here's my call to you. If someone's done that for you, drop them a line and tell them. Pick up the phone and tell them. It really helps. So we've got some great speakers lined up. This running this podcast, the job in itself, but I hope you feel the benefit. Well, I know you do, because you drop us lines, and I appreciate that. It really helps me, actually. It's like you don't want to build a white elephant, do you? Create all this work, ring all these people, get it all lined up, do the interview, do the edits, all that. And then if no one's going to listen, so I know you're listening. As I said last week, some great spikes in listener numbers as well. So I know you're telling your friends and colleagues, so keep that up. So yeah, good things planned for the show going forward. Some little quirky things which I can't say too much yet, but hopefully that'll come off. So let's get on with episode 48. Today we are speaking with fellow podcaster and founder of typoprints.com, Nick Mann. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Nick, I believe it's 1 a.m. for you now?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Whereabouts are you?
I'm from Spanaway, Washington.
Okay.
That's on the Pacific Coast.
Right. So apologies for keeping you up, but I know you've got a good message for our listeners today, so it's worth staying up for.
Oh, definitely. I normally don't go to bed till about 2 a.m., so this is totally okay.
So, well, does that mean that you don't start work till late then?
Yeah, I actually am a bit of a night owl when I do most of my writing and my planning. I just always found out that writing at night has always just helped me.
Yeah, some people are early birds, some people are more productive at evening. So you mentioned writing there, Nick. I mean, obviously, typoprints.com, you're the founder of that, but do you do a lot of writing for your business?
Yes, I actually do, especially for my podcast, the Don't Quit podcast. I write about at least 1,000 words a week.
Right.
Yep. I'm also writing my own book that's soon going to be almost done and going to be published.
If you don't write, do you go a bit stir crazy?
I never really originally was a writer, definitely in school. It's something that I've learned to love over the course of time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you, actually. I think when you get into this bit of a journey, you've got so much swirling around in your brain that you just have to get it out, don't you? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a theme or a topic or a thought, and I'm just thinking, right, there's a blog article straight away.
Definitely. And I would say I even write so much better than just saying out loud. So writing's just been my favorite medium. It allows me to collect all my thoughts, as well as nice to have a backspace.
Well, you're the same as me, and wow, we're both podcasters, but we write better than we speak.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to talk about passion today, Nick. It's something that, it's a bit of a message that you want to try and get across to podcasters in terms of how you find your passion. So where do we start? Is that something that, were you in a job, in a role, and it wasn't your passion, it wasn't your priority, and you just wanted to move into something else?
I come from a background of being a graphic designer, and that's something that I always knew I wanted to be even before I even knew what it was. It's actually quite funny. I'll start in high school. I was always just big into art and creativity. So when I always would hear about, gotta think about a career, I never really thought about how should I really go about this and how do I connect my main points. So I would always just do some research about what are some things that are acceptable. And one of them was graphic designer. And I just read very briefly what it does. And, I would say my basic understanding of it wasn't exactly the right meaning of it once I got into college to actually study it. But it's actually really funny that it all worked out. So from the get-go, I was able to really practice what I was doing and become proficient in where I am now.
I was just going to say, Nick, it's really interesting that from a young age, you kind of knew what you wanted to do. I think when I was a boy and you go through school, you have careers sort of advice. I don't know if you had that. And, you fill in a little questionnaire and you tick a load of boxes and it comes back and it says, right, you're going to be perfect to be a, policeman or whatever. Is that something you guys did over in the States?
We did something similar to that in high school. I vaguely remember it was somewhere around the medical industry for me, but
right.
Yeah, but I wasn't very good in school. Neither was I really into any science. So I just knew like that wasn't really the right path for me.
Your passion was obviously with graphic design, so that's what you studied, I take it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, specifically was during print and branding. That was the core aspects my school taught.
So in terms of you talking about how you find your passion, Nick, I guess you didn't really have to find it.
I know.
It was always there.
Yeah, I know. I would say it found me.
And so in terms of helping others, you've got a calling in terms of how to find your passion. For me, I think passion, I don't know, you might tell me I'm wrong, but sometimes I feel like passion doesn't need to be found. It's always there. Priorities are different. So, if for me, I might have went into be a policeman, for instance, but I might have been really passionate about what I do now. But I just kind of fell into that role, and I think a lot of people do that. Nick, do you sort of see that where they leave university?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I actually really do believe that there is a little bit of a calling about what we're naturally gifted at doing for our skills and what is required from a specific profession. And it's all about trying out new things. Once you find something that may work, you may adapt to it, you may have to pivot, but ultimately the whole target goal setting of what you want to accomplish in your life just needs to meet with your own happiness. So that's where I really do believe that passion can definitely be found inside.
Yeah, I think, people might be passionate about doing something and it ends up being their side hustle and then hopefully it'll become their career. I just think sometimes when people are passionate, they don't really get a chance to act on it because of, I don't know, income anxiety. Someone, got to pay the bills, or you've ended up in a job that you've studied a degree for, been in there 20 years, and I don't know, now you're a social worker and you really want to kind of break out, but you just don't have that opportunity. So in terms of, your how to find your passion, how do you suggest people go about that?
Oh, so first thing I gotta recommend is make a list of all the things you love doing. It doesn't matter what. If you're having a hard time with this, then really think about all the things you did as a kid, because that's where a lot of original talents and skills come from, is from that early childhood. And then next is to identify the problems you face with the stuff you do for fun. What are the inconveniences, the things that make you groan about your activities? So, if you like to play video games, but you're always being challenged by the hardest level, so you would think, I'm going to Google around and see how other people have done it. And then you learn from what they've done. And then people have even just created their own business from just playing video games just like that to help out other people who are stuck.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I've mentioned on the show a few times, YouTubers now is a career for people, and they just have a passion to get on the camera and talk about Minecraft or something. But at the end of the day, they end up with over 1 million subscribers, and then it becomes a career because they're passionate about it.
Yeah, I would even say a lot of people kind of just fall into it. They just like to make some passionate videos of what they like doing, and it's cool. Or they want to show their friends something that they did. And then next thing you know, that they're getting tons of views, and it got picked up by some media company, and all of a sudden that they're getting so many subscribers. They're like, oh, let's monetize this. And next thing you know, they got a career now.
For sure. And I think sometimes it's just do it. Like you might actually have a job, you might be in a role, and okay, fair enough. But your passion, you think, I'd love to go and do that. I wish I could do it. Then just do it.
I definitely agree. I would even say that it's like having a puncher's chance in your way to your freedom and where you want to be in your life, because the more stuff you put out, the more likely some of it will be successful. Because when you see with authors, they only need really one book to become gigantic, and all of a sudden they can make a movie out of it, even though they can be making years of other books. But all it really takes is just one to be really that successful. So if you're really passionate about it, definitely keep doing it, because the worst thing I can definitely say is people who just give up too early, and of course they never reap any benefits because they just never stick out to actually receive it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to get all tree huggy here and talk about, affirmations and saying something that it'll happen. But I do believe that, if you do sort of say it's going to happen and put it out there, that this stuff will happen. It's like, I was talking this week about this actually. It's, if you were after buying a black Mustang, for instance, you drive around and all you ever see is a black Mustang, because it's in your mind now. You've set it out. You've put it down as a goal. Or you're in a meeting and you really want that new Apple Watch, and every time you look around in a networking event, someone's got that Apple Watch. It's just, you put it out there, and I think it'll just happen.
I personally don't always like to believe that, but it does work. I can definitely attest to that, based on some desires that I've always had. Like one thing that I always wanted was a telescope, because I'm definitely passionate into astronomy, and just seeing it around everywhere you meet. And I'm not even in a big area for astronomy, but yeah, I've actually seen people have telescopes out in the park, just to check out the scenery. So I definitely do believe that there is definitely some truth in all that.
I mean, I'm not talking. It's like I say, I'm not getting all spiritual. And is it the secret? Is that what they say? Is that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I like the core message of it, but it presents it so terribly.
It does. I mean, this affirmation, you say it and wake up and say this stuff, and it's out in the universe, and the universe will give you it back. What I'm talking about is accountability. You said something, if I'm on this podcast and thousands of people hear me say that I'm going to do X, I'm going to have to do X, because if I don't, I'm going to get called out by all these people.
It definitely works. That's why I have my own mastermind group, just close friends that, like, when I don't do something, they call me out on it, and it makes me feel bad. It's just one of those things that, like, you can only do so much by yourself, and why having a team of other people around you can just make everything so much easier.
That leads me actually nicely into your chosen field. So, in terms of a team at the moment, you've founded typoprints.com. So are you a solopreneur at the moment?
Yes, I am. I do absolutely everything by myself. Well, occasionally I'll have some of my freelancer friends help me out, but I barter my services with them. just to even everything out. But I would say about 90% of all typo prints is from me.
That's something that I'm quite passionate about, pardon the pun. We're talking about passion, but what you said there, bartering's really good. And when I'm coaching, I often say this to people, they say, I can't really afford this guy to do X for me. Well, then you do Y for him, and don't swap any money around, just do stuff for each other. It works really well.
I know. I'm actually really surprised how many people forget bartering is actually like a legit strategy. Because you hear a lot of people who want to start their own business, but they have like such a low budget and they have to like cut corners and make do what they have. But if you got some good talent and some great people, like, man, you can definitely try to work something out. It definitely increases your negotiation skills. It definitely can work out. It definitely has for me.
Excellent. So let's hear about your business. So how did it start?
Oh, it started out when I was in college. It was soon after I was freelancing. And one thing I really learned about freelancing is that I was so busy working with other people's brands and their products. But I always felt when I was giving some consulting and how to go about their products, I always felt, is this really the right way to go about this for them? So that's when I kind of took initiative of my own to create some products for me to make sure, like, is what I'm saying actually true? And that's what I started out with, some basic prints, just because that was easily available for me for a nearby print shop, as well as the print experience I got from school to able to make that come together. And I was able to sell a few. And then I realized, like, this is actually kind of easier than doing my freelancing, because now I, don't even have to meet people to be able to get sales. So that's when I really started to expand upon that and really put more emphasis in my design work on that and then create more products. And then next thing I know, that I should really make a business out of this and start putting most of my focus in it. And that's where the typo prints came from, was from the idea of creating prints.
So are we talking about, prints? I think, home and office prints. I think you're very motivational, aren't you? I think that's probably, your passion is, motivational prints and T-shirts as well.
Yes, T-shirts. Definitely some of the fabric that I really enjoyed, because when people are having their motivational prints inside their house, it works within them. But now when people go outside, well, then the motivation can only go so far. So that's why I thought maybe having the T-shirts so that they can be wherever they are.
Okay. So when you talk prints, we say posters here in the UK. Do you say posters?
I would say prints is probably the more common version, but if someone said poster, I'll just assume that it's not the framed version. I'll just say that.
So basically, typo prints, it's an online sort of e-commerce store where you can buy prints for your home or your office, which is all motivational. And then you've went into T-shirts, yeah?
Yes. You can definitely purchase from my website. I also have created my own journal. It's called the One Step Journal. It's about taking the best parts of your day and reflecting about how you're going to do it for your future.
Oh, why did you go with journals? Do you look back over and see where you've been, or?
Yes, I actually, this actually came from solving the problem I've had with my current journals, is that I never really felt what to write in them. So with my One Step Journal, I've created a way that is able to ask you to write questions of how you went about your day, what did you learn, and what did you accomplish. So this takes the thinking for you, so that you just answer the questions instead of actually having to write on a blank piece of paper. That can be kind of daunting for someone who's just starting out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me or not, but I don't like anything that's gone, in terms of the past. I'm always looking forward. So, trying to plan. So not so much a journal, but more so a kind of a record or a plan of, to do things and goals and aspirations. But once it's gone for me, it's just gone. I don't even like looking at old photographs or videos. I've just got no interest. It's just gone. Some of my mates will say, "Can you remember when we went to see that football game and we won 4-2 again?" And I'm like, "Well, I've got no idea what you're talking about."
oh man. See, I'm very I'm very big in my memories. It's always really just nice to know what did I do on exactly what day. And when I go back and I'm all about reflection about how I was in the past. So that's how I know where I'm going in the future and how I'm improving. So to be able to see what I accomplished back last year and do the highlights, I can say like, wow, I've really improved as a person because I've definitely encountered this situation more times than not. And now I can see that I've handled it a lot better. So it's just nice to know who I was in the past so I can become a better person in the future.
I think I'm sold on that one. So I think the way I would probably do it is just a list. I actually did that with podcasting. I sort of made a list, and I think it was the winter of 2015, and said, right, next year this is what I want to do, and start a podcast show was one of them, but there was a few others as well, and that list is there. That's fine, and I can look at it, but in terms of every day, so is this something you fill in every day, like a journal?
Yes, every day I write down what I did. Usually I kept it to about three sections because it can be a little convoluted to write everything you've done. And when you go back and skim, you kind of read like, was this thing really necessary to write about? So when you write about three things, it kind of brings down to the main points of what is it that brought the most out of that day that you need to know.
You're like a graphic designer Doogie Howser. So
I'm so big in personal development that I'm always trying new things. It helps me be creative. It helps me improve as a person. So I definitely have expanded since my college days.
Yeah. Well, I think if that's the kind of guy that you are in terms of creative and art, I would very much, I can imagine you now in your journal writing things down, and whereas me, I'm a bit more ad hoc and a bit more out there. Maybe I need to have a bit more of your skill set. So, our audience, Nick, they are entrepreneurs, business leaders, or people who are thinking about starting their own business. So they're actually in a role now and they want to try and pursue their passion. How do you find starting Typo Prints as a solopreneur? What challenges are you currently going through? How long's the business been going now?
My business has been going on for about 3 years now. I would say the biggest challenge is perseverance. Because the thing about selling art is that the problem you're solving isn't always immediate effect to people. So you need to dig deep a little bit about finding what is their problems, about how can I make my artwork resonate with them so that they can have it in their office and have it on their clothes and make them feel better about themselves. So it definitely took a lot of marketing validation to even talk to some people about like, hey, there's some typography quotes that you really enjoy, and to hear what they like. So that's definitely another problem, is finding out what your potential customers will like. And the best way is just to ask them directly, especially the social media. There's tons of people that will totally say something on their minds, and you will never know if you don't ask.
Dead right, yeah. I often speak about surveying your customers, create your minimal viable product, test it, see what the client says, and then pivot if needs be. But so I really like your products because I feel they're a bit more in depth of a motivational quote, if you like. There's information on there. It's not just a one-liner. You've got a few little, you've got a few messages, I think, in your print.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I want to stand out from other prints, is that I really want to put more thought into it, and something that people can have in their house and be more proud of. Because certainly I could do some Gandhi quotes and whatnot, but that's what everyone else is doing, and it kind of loses its magic it has. And, no one really gains from it. So when you create something new, it really makes people feel more original. It makes them feel better about themselves, and it allows them to show it off to everyone else. So, it's not something generic and forgettable, something that people actually would want in their house.
So your business, Nick, is it purely e-commerce then?
Yes, it is.
So you mentioned social media there. How do you get the message out there?
Oh, social media. That's actually mostly where I came in with my podcast, to be able to spread the word about my inner thoughts, about my personal development, and how that led to Typo Prints. So one of the things I always talk about is the episodes I put out, but I also like to put out imagery of what I also do with my prints. And I do a lot of smaller ones and things that I'd necessarily wouldn't want to put on prints, but are very quick and easy to get on social media.
How's things going with, I mentioned there about, how do you get your audience in terms of marketing? So, the podcast is certainly a platform to share. So do you do things like Facebook ads?
Yes, I've been definitely dabbling in Facebook ads. It's one of the more beneficial for a lot of companies nowadays, I would definitely say. But specifically for my demographic, I've definitely found out Pinterest ads is the way to go.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So how's things affecting you when we're talking about things like Amazon merch?
Yes. See, the problem with Amazon merch is the hold up on the accounts, because right now I actually do not have access to one. But if I did, I would definitely check that out. I think it's very convenient that they do a lot of the printing for you on their marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, someone like yourself who's got the skill of graphic design, you're on to a winner straight away because, like you say, they do all the hard work for you. They'll print, they'll fulfill, and they do all the payment, and you just get a nice little bit of royalties, don't you?
It looks like it's a decent amount. I definitely would be on it, if I had an account.
Yeah, we had a guest on, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago, a lady called Elaine, who has grew quite a nice business through Amazon merch, and I think she was saying it takes around about 3 months to get your invite through.
Oh, that sounds about right. It looks like I'm still having to wait another month or so.
Right. Okay. Well, we've got a good few Industry Angel listeners who are all sitting on their invites as well. So we've got a bit of a thing. We've got a bit of a thing going. We want to know who got their invite first and jumping straight on there and see if we can make a sale.
Yeah. I mean, Amazon is such a great platform for selling anything that you normally wouldn't want to sell on your own website presence, just because it can be like its own challenge. Like I can definitely say personally, the amount of skills and time it really requires. But Amazon does a lot of the legroom for you. So I can definitely see why a lot of people would jump on Amazon first and foremost.
I just touched upon your graphic skills there. If I can just sort of go off on another tangent. Do you sort of do freelance graphic work as well?
Yes, I don't actively seek it out very much anymore, okay. But I still, if people would ask, I would definitely be open to it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if you've got a few sort of channels of revenue, that's great. I was just thinking about, obviously we see a lot of online freelance platforms now with very low cost. Graphic design is probably one of the main things that people ask for. How do you feel about some of those sites?
Oh, I understand why those sites exist, and they can definitely help out people who don't live in great areas.
Okay.
Well, I think my biggest concern, though, is the lack of personability that you can have with your clients, as well as the ownership of your business. Because the problem with these freelancing platforms is that you're essentially taking away everything about your business to them. So you're essentially like an employee. So you have to play by their rules. And if they can definitely have their consequences if you don't. So I can certainly see why people like to go the freelancing route through there. Personally, I will definitely like to have my own business with my own power of how I started it. So that's the reason. And that's my stance on freelancing sites.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think this gig economy, it has its place and it's good for quick fixes or, can you just change the color of this or, I don't know, change a typo or can you just knock me this? I mean, I get that, but I think it can affect businesses like ours and yours. For instance, I've got a guy, Mark, who's my graphic designer and he's very, very talented and produces some great stuff. But I think now people are expecting, a great piece of work for very little money now because of the gig economy.
That's the fortunate thing with the startups is that they can definitely have some unrealistic expectations, as well as a lot of them need to just be educated about what is it they're actually getting. Because even though, sir, you can definitely get a logo for $5, but the problem with the logo is it's probably some generic stock work that you can get for $1. And it really shows when there's so many other stock images just like that, it loses your personality. It loses what your brand is supposed to represent. So I feel one of the biggest aspects of future freelancers is all about teaching about how they go about their process, about what's the difference between going cheap and going for more of an investment.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I see it now with websites. We build websites and we'll, ensure it's got good hosting. The email hosting's robust, and it can future-proof yourself in terms of growing the organization. Should it grow in headcount? We take all these good things into account, and then a smaller web developer who are really doing super cheap economy websites can are really affecting the price now of what we can charge.
Yeah, I know it is unfortunate. The worldwide economy, how it affects pretty much all the industries at once. But the key thing about this is that it's all about finding your target demographic, because it's totally easy to compete against the world. But ultimately, why compete against the world when you can just compete in your local area and build relationships through them and then get referrals also? Because a lot of people like to work with other awesome people. And the thing about working with worldwide is I don't know if they're trustworthy. I don't know if they're good. There's so many questions. That's why I say the freelancing sites kind of loses that personality about meeting a client and building a relationship with them, because that's one of the key facts that I've always learned is building relationships.
What a great place to end this, Nick, because you just said there that it's all about working with awesome people, and I 100% agree. That's exactly where it's at. And, if you can have that relationship, you can have that great customer service and go the extra mile, they're going to refer you on, your business will just grow. I'm getting a bit affirmation again here on. I'm getting a bit like, put it out there, it'll just happen. So, Nick, where can we find you? We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for your time. We've got typoprints.com.
Yes.
Where else?
Yes, certainly. You can email me at nick@typoprints.com. You can also find me on the largest social media, the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Those definitely are all great social media outlets. I check them every day. So if you send out a message, I'll get back to you eventually.
Well, I think I'll be checking out your Pinterest because I've seen typoprints.com. And as I say, I really, really think some of your prints are excellent. I just noticed Typo Prints has a typo. Do you want to talk to us about that for quickly to 5 seconds?
Yeah. See, I originally didn't want the extra Y in there, but I realized how much more costly that URL would be. And then I realized how can I make this sound the same but become cheaper URL for me? And and I was like, what, I can't put another T on, that'll look weird. I can't say another P because that would pronounce really bad. So I was like, let's do a Y. And it's a play on words, so let's go with it. And it definitely worked out.
Well, at least there's not a Z at the end, because I would have to slap your legs. That's a pet hate of mine, using Zs. Excellent. Well, thanks for your time, Nick. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks to Nick Mann there, and for speaking to us in the wee hours of the Washington morning. It was good to hear that Nick pursued his passion, literally from the outset, and he acted on it. And it's too good to be true. I certainly didn't have the opportunity when I entered the big bad world of work. But to be honest, I don't think I knew what I wanted to do, and I imagine many listeners didn't as well, But once you understand your passion, I guess it's how we act on it. An idea is just that until you act on it. So, yeah, really interesting to hear from Nick. It was also interesting that we got into affirmations. I mentioned The Secret, which is a book, and that generally believes in positive thoughts are powerful magnets that attract health, wealth, and happiness. The kind of thing you're waking up and saying, I expect only the best things to happen to me today, and my body is healthy and my mind is peaceful and clear. I'm super handsome and I've got a 32-inch waist. Nah, it's not working. These affirmations don't work. But, I do get the concept. But is it not just about being positive as well? We've heard many examples of people feeling the effects of positive thinking when they've been ill. So let me know if affirmations is something you're practicing, maybe that's a show in itself. iTunes users, open that podcast app, leave me a review. I've got a feeling that algorithms are going to be changing shortly. I noticed iTunes podcasts have changed their little logo now. So maybe this changes a foot, and we need to be up there in the charts and still be found. So as I said at the top of the show, keep subscribing, keep telling your friends and colleagues. And who needs an off-site training course when you've got 48 episodes of Industry Angel, eh? So until next time, I'm Ian Farrer, this is the Industry Angel, and thanks for listening.